Welcome back to Troll Time. I'm your host, Ivan D. Curtis, aka the Troll King. And this is a show where we talk sports, movies, or anything thought provoking. Today we'll be talking LA Sparks find their head coach in Lynn Roberts. Unrivaled announced their league teams. South Carolina, 43-game winning streak. And Geno Auriemma is now the NCAA all-time leader in wins as a head coach. I don't do this show alone. Let me bring in my right-hand man, my brother. Hey, Willie, what's going on with you?
Hey, fight on, man.
Hey,
Nah, man.
go ahead.
Go ahead. No. It's great to be on, man. But got to give props to I'm saying fight on right now. We got to win on the football side, but we talking about this women's hoops right now. So
Yeah, today, as you heard in the intro, we attacking mostly women's. This is all women's hoops today. Lynn Roberts was named the head coach of the LA Sparks.
my team.
Hey, when I read over, her backstory and career and all like that, I mean, it kind of became an obvious choice when I started reading it, but I mean, I never would have known if I wouldn't have done my homework, but California
Right.
native. She's been coaching the past 18 years in Division I basketball. Also, she was mentored by the Tara Vanderveer. So that connection with her and Cameron Brink and everything like that, it has to be some familiarity somewhere in there. So that made a lot of sense. But I mean, fairly successful, experienced. Seemed like a great choice to me, and as you see now, the WNBA are going the collegiate route to filling in a lot of these vacancies. Man, I just want to get your thought before I start running the numbers. Hey, Willie, on LA Sparks hiring Lynn Roberts.
Well, I was paying attention to this one, man, because that's my team. I love all the W. I love the players. We know that. We've established that. But being hashtag LA built, that's my team. And I think it's a good hire. I also think it's good timing for Lynn as well, because if I'm being honest with you, she probably did about as much as you can do at Utah coaching basketball because she had successful teams that were really good, teams that made second weekend of the NCAA tournament. And when you start looking at the recruiting and how that works as it relates to Utah, she probably did about as much as you can do. And them moving to the Big 12, no more Pac 12. As we know, last year, we would talk about it a lot when we would text each other and talk about women's basketball. It's so crazy that the last year of the Pac 12, from top to bottom, it was the best conference in the country for women's basketball, and Utah was one of those teams. Of course, Alyssa Peely was a big part of that. That also leads me to what I'm about to say about the Sparks hiring Lynn as well. Free flowing offense with bigs being able to shoot the ball, bigs being able to initiate the offense. We got big guard in LA, De'Erica Hamby. Also, too, I want to see Cameron Brink continue to take a step offensively. Also, we love her energy. We love the way that she contest shots. All those things. She got to stop giggling and fouling out.
Right.
But yeah, I want to see her game expand offensively as well, because provided when she comes back from injury and she's 100%, she's athletic enough to be more than just a rim runner, shot blocker, energy player. So under Lynn, you're going to be able to do your thing. Lynn probably did about as much as you could do at Utah. And if you're not going to get one of those major jobs, as we're starting to see this shift in the college athletics being driven by football, but we're seeing the shift in conferences. Hell, we might see the Big Ten and the SEC, Big Ten and the SEC, as it depends on what happens in the college football playoff this year. Those two conferences might say to hell with all y'all, and we gonna form a super one. So with that being said, I think college basketball, as it relates to the coaching jobs, what's a good job, what isn't, will continue to shift. And I think at this point, Lynn probably did about as much as you could do at Utah. And if you're not getting one of those premier jobs, you might have to look at going to coach in the league. And she going back to the crib. Let's get it.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, her success at Utah is unprecedented. I mean, she was a 2023 Pac-12 Coach of the Year. Took over Utah in 2015. Went 18-15 in her first year after taking over a 9-21 team. They also made the Sweet 16 in 2023. Won the Pac-12 regular championship. Spent 40 consecutive weeks ranked in the top 25, 14 straight weeks in the top 10, ranking as high as number 2 in the nation. Attendance increased under her watch from 594 to over 7,200. And most importantly, with the connection with the WNBA, is she coached, as you mentioned earlier, Alyssa Peely, who was the number 8 overall draft pick in this past draft of the WNBA. And also in 2019, third round selection, Megan Huff. So, hey man, I'm excited to see it, especially when you talk about the free flowing offense. I think LA now, but after Rakia, for some reason, Rakia Jackson sat on the bench for all that time. But if you got Rakia Jackson, Cameron Brink, and De'Erica Hamby, that's easy one of the best front courts in the WNBA. And when you talk, and they all are versatile. Right? They can
Right.
play inside, outside. Hamby,
Yep.
I thought, improved tremendously from the perimeter this season. If there were no such players as the top 3 in the league, Nafisa Collier, Asia Wilson, and Breonna Stewart, and Derek Hamby would have been up there if the Sparks could have had a better season. But no, I'm excited to see it. Can't wait to see how it comes around, and then also seeing who she decides to pick up in the draft and
Right.
and
Right.
free agency as well. If they get some guards in LA, it's they could be a problem.
I agree. I agree.
Uh,
I
next
agree.
next up, Unrivaled announced their teams. Of course, we got the head coaches: Teaspoon, Nola Henry, DJ Sackman, Adam Harrington, Andrew Wade, and Phil Handy. The names of the team are rather unique, but I'm just gonna give the name, the head coach and the players that's on that team. Of course, you got Vinyl Basketball Club. That's coached by Teaspoon, Leah Boston, Enrique Agumbawale, Ryan Howard, Jordan Canada, De'Erica Hamby, Ray Burrell. Rose Basketball Club, Nola Henry, Angel Reese, Chelsea Gray, Kalia Cooper, Brittany Sykes, Azora Stevens, and Lexi Hull. Lunar Owls is coached by DJ Sackman. You got Nafisa Collier, Skylar Diggins Smith, Alicia Gray, Natasha Cloud, Shakira Austin, and they have the wild card.
Mm-hmm.
Phantom Basketball Club, Adam Harrington, Satu Sabali, Jackie Young, Marina Mabry, Tiffany Hayes, Brittany Griner, and they also have the wild card. For Laces Basketball Club, you got Andrew Wade, coached by Andrew Wade, Alyssa Thomas, Kelsey Plum, Kayla McBride, Courtney Williams, Stephanie Dolson, Kate Martin. And the last and sixth and final team is coached by Phil Handy, Breonna Stewart, Jewel Lloyd, Dejanay Carrington, Courtney Vandersloot, Aaliyah Edwards, and Rakia Jackson. That's some pretty impressive rosters. I mean, offhand for me. I like Phil Handy's team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Breonna Stewart and Nafisa Collier is going to take all the shine on their team. I think they're going to allow the younger players, to get some shine. I don't see them going full throttle. I mean, in spurts, yeah, maybe, but I see them getting a lot of shine, and I like Dejanay Carrington getting a chance to 3v3. I think is going to be more pivotal to working on your one-on-one game.
No question.
So I like that, and a lot of these players getting a chance to work on their game in live action, and Dejanay Carrington is one of them. Sloot,
Right.
that's a friendly pick in my eyes because she's not. I don't see her playing a ton of minutes at that pace. And then the other team, before I toss the ball over to you, A. Willie, is I really like. I like that team for the perimeter players, but when I really look at like the bigs, which is I wasn't a big fan of the bigs playing 3v3, but I'd have to go with Teaspoon's team
That's what
because
the one I was going to talk about. Yes, sir.
you got shooting in Ray Burrell. It also, I think, is going to pay dividends for her working on her one-on-one game. But then you got Ryan Howard, who can shoot it. You got Derek Hamby, who also can be inside, outside, spread the floor. I think Aaliyah Boston, if she mid-range, the post that we talk about all the time. And then, of course, you have the ultimate one-on-one player in Enrique Agumbawale. So, and I know they're going to play with some energy. That's what Teaspoon is all about. So those are the two teams I like this far. The two teams I probably dislike the most, the Nolan, the Rose Basketball Club. I don't think that's a good 3v3 team. Beyond Brittany Sykes and Kalia Cooper, I just
Copper.
Copper. Copper. I don't see. I like them, but Chelsea Gray, I don't. I don't know. I don't see her. I don't see her blowing past people anymore, like she used to. I mean, of course she's still the point guard, but if you can't get past people, it's hard to create. And I think we'll talk about that later on as in the WNBA because I think that's starting to become the demise of the Las Vegas Aces. But I don't like that team. And Andrew Wade, Laces, with Alyssa Thomas, Kelsey Plum, Kayla McBride, Courtney Williams. Outside of Kelsey Plum and Courtney Williams, I don't see a lot of players that can create off the bounce. And that's 3v3. Like, you got to be able to create off the bounce. So,
Right.
your thoughts, Willie, on the rosters being announced, teams and coaches?
Man, I can't wait to see this, but I really like the vinyl roster because one thing about 3v3, and we know this, right? Like you got to defend. Just like when you out there and we playing 3-on-3 or you playing 2-on-2. There is no, when you playing with your friends, there are people that take plays off and when you go 5-on-5, right? But when you go 3-on-3, there are no plays off. You got to convert quickly, offensively to defense, all of those different things. And so with that being said, you got to have a level of connectivity. So when you start looking at Ryan Howard and De'Erica Hamby, they played together on the bronze medal 3v3 winning team in the Olympics this past summer. So then when you add De'Erica Hamby, Ryan Howard, Jordan Canada, that's three. Then Ray Burrell, you got four players that are interchangeable that they all guard. So even when you are Auriemma Agumbawale, who is known for scoring, now she may not be on the ball locking people down, but Auriemma can get steals. So what I like about the vinyl is how they're going to guard, and the fact that Ryan Howard and De'Erica Hamby already have sort of that inner working knowledge of each other's games from playing together in the summer. So you got to have interchangeable. Like so, when you look at again Ryan Howard, De'Erica Hamby, and Ray Burrell, those are players with size that are interchangeable. I think from a development standpoint, to your point, like you said, if you're Leah Boston, you have to be one of the things that we would see more and that we wanted to see more in Indiana was Aaliyah in that short roll, pick and roll, not Aaliyah, they go pick and roll and Aaliyah's got to get all the way to the basket where all the bodies are, where the paint is all congested, and you got an infinite amount of bodies in a small amount of space. Here in the 3v3, because the game is more open, I want to see her take some of that pick and pop, do a little bit more of that. What if De'Erica Hamby or Ray Burrell, Jordan Canada, whoever, Ryan Howard operate off the bounce and they draw the defender and they kick it out to you? Leah Boston's got to hit that. So from a development standpoint, I think it's good for her. I also think this is good, man. And you and I talked about this week too when you talk about that Rose roster. I think this is going to be great for Angel Reese. So I know there's posted videos of her working on her game from the perimeter, not only shooting, but getting the ball on the perimeter, going one or two dribbles and getting to the bucket. So I think this is good from a development standpoint too. Like you said, I think there are some things that I think for Kalia Copper, this is going to be a heavy, heavy lift. She's going to have to do a lot on this team. But Angel Reese, from a development standpoint, I think is good. Same for Azurá Stevens, because even with the Sparks, she would shoot that corner three at times, and that was something that you wouldn't see a lot of in the past. But you would see her, and that's another player going back to the Sparks. Another front court player that wasn't healthy for the entire season, that when you add her to the mix for the Sparks, man, like you said, they got one of the deepest front courts in the league. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens with this vinyl team. I got to see Phantom because I love Satu Savali, but I also tell you all the time, Marina Mabry can play on my team any day of the week. I want a dog. I want a dog that can get buckets. So she can play on my team any day of the week. So they're going to be interesting also, man. I just can't wait to see this. I'm sure with the teams that are in this situation now, especially if Dallas elects not to core Satu Sabli, or if they core and move her, whatever the case may be, there's going to be a lot of recruiting going on with her being a free agent. Man, I'm interested in what happens with this. But like I said, for those young players, in particular, Boston, Reese, I'm interested in seeing what happens with the development. And at a certain extent, Ray Burrell also, too. I think that development, and that's why they hired the coaches that they hired, because they major in that player development piece. So I can't wait to see this, man. I'm excited.
Now, for some of you, of course, that may have happened to catch the Olympic 3v3, this is nothing like that. Typically, 3v3 is played in half court. This league is played full court on a 70 by 50 foot court, that's the part I like about it. I
do
think
too.
I think it's smart for them. If you had to ask me, a lot of this has to go into training camp. They're going to be getting in shape, getting up and down the court, not being stagnant, playing half court. You're gonna have to defend for sure in 3v3 when you're talking about full court. But I like it. They got some different features to it. They're gonna have a 1v1 tournament that'll be going on in February to determine, quote unquote, who's the best 1v1 player in the world. The game is played. It's going to be played in an hour broadcast window, 4 quarters with a game clock and a shot clock. So I love that. The format it's going to be 9 weeks, including the playoffs. 6 teams will play in a round robin schedule. The top 4 teams in the standings at the conclusion of the regular season will make the playoffs. So they got it. I mean, it's put together really well. Right? And they got the merch out for teams and things of that nature right now. I think an 850 seat arena, which I think is a great number. I really can't wait to see it. And then a lot of people asked me when I made the post regarding the Unrivaled, is that I told them, I said, our players leave the WNBA. They go overseas. We never know what's going on with them. Then when it's time for the WNBA season, some of them come back overseas hurt. We had no idea, so now we missed them all off season. Now we about to miss them the beginning of the so now we get a chance to track some of our favorite players throughout the WNBA season and the off season. So, shout out to Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart and all involved for putting this together.
The human baby dog, Nafisa Collier.
No doubt.
And another player I want to mention too, as it relates to it, because we talk about her a lot as well. Man, it's crazy that as for 2 point guards to be on this, and we all talking about the development of the bigs. Shakira Austin, man, I can't wait to see her play in this, because it provided, of course, health, but I'm also ready for her to take that next step, because when she is available and she is right, man, that's one of the more exciting young players in the league. And I know you and I talk about her a lot. So I'm very much interested in seeing her, man, and her development and continued development, and seeing her on the court healthy. I can't wait to see that either.
No doubt. To keep the show rolling, South Carolina wins their 43rd game in a row. They defeated Clemson 77-45 in their latest matchup. Man, It's an incredible run right now for South Carolina, and to me, I don't see the streak. I don't see the streak going anywhere anytime soon. The one thing that I think people get caught up on is that you take a South Carolina team like last year who were dominant, went undefeated. Then you lose a dominant post player and Camila Cardoso
Killer.
and people start the teams change from year to year, the style of play change, but the one thing about South Carolina is that they're gonna play defense and they're always gonna have a deep bench. Like I mean, and to me it's always about can you last when you play them. Just like in the last game, Clemson, they hung with them for the first quarter, and then after that, it was over with. I mean, because even in that game, the shooting, South Carolina shot 42% from the field, 36% from three, 66% from the free throw line, and you still win by 30 plus. Now, not to mention when we talk about the defensive end, Clemson shot 25% from the field, 38% from three. So it was so that'll be the tale of the tape. And then when you look at it, I believe they got 30 plus points from the bench.
Right.
So I mean 21. I mean, so it's hard to top that. I mean, in their case, it doesn't matter who starts. It's starting to become a lock and load. But kind of UConnish like, we'll talk about Geno later, but that's what it's looking like. I mean, you up against all players, all 10 plus players that South Carolina is going to play, and if you can't withstand that, you're probably not going to win. And the tough part about South Carolina is they ducking no smoke, like.
Right.
They're not ducking anybody. The schedule coming up for them, they got UCLA on November 24th, and I'm only naming the ranked opponents. They got the number 5 team UCLA on the 24th, the number 18 currently 8th team Iowa State on the 28th.
Northern Iowa just got them too last night.
It sure did. Duke. Number 14, December 5th, TCU, which is I'm definitely that's the one I got marked the most, December 8th, and that's because of the size of TCU, and they have people who can put the ball in the bucket. Like they do have some shooters, but like I said, you still have to last. So we're talking about 4 ranked opponents coming up between their next, that's 1, 2, between their next 5 games. They're playing a ton of ranked opponents, and and even they're gonna get everybody's best shot at that. So, but 43 games in a row. Hats off to Dawn Staley and what she's building at South Carolina. What do you think about the 43 games in a row?
I said this before, and I'll say this again. Shout out to Dawn Staley, like you said, because in this era of NIL, in this era of brand building that players focus on, and I'm not even mad at that, but this isn't as they should, because everybody else has been leveraging their platform to eat except the actual person that creates that platform, and it's their talent that creates it. And there's this expectation, and it's so paternalistic and it's so short-sighted that everybody else should eat, and the player, and I've said this before, it's business for everybody else, and you supposed to be there for the love, and that's it. And so we know that that's short-sighted. We know that that's a selfish way of thinking. We know that that shouldn't be the way. However, as we correct, when we do these things, we see a problem and we overcorrect. And the overcorrection is you get players that are so involved in thinking about their brand before they even produced on the floor. And in this era that we have some players that operate like that, man, it is crazy that Dawn Staley, with players having to share the spotlight, having to quote unquote wait their turn, how the game was when we were growing up, where the number 1 recruit in the country goes on the team and it's 3 other All-Americans already on the team, and you got to wait to eat. the fact that it's like that at South Carolina, and the players stay, that says a lot about the culture. That says a lot about Dawn Staley and her staff getting the right players that fit that understand that it will be greater later, that understand we are here to win championships. And as LeBron says, who's not on social media, come on home, LeBron. We got to get you back, man. It relates to that. Keep the main thing the main thing. That's one of the things that he says all the time. So these players do that, and it is really a testament to them. Second thing I want to say is, again, because of the fact that, again, not against people getting their paper. Get your paper, man, as Too Short says on Getting It. You can get your paper, but at the same time, man, the fact that these players actually stay in school, and that's the narrative in women's college basketball. Because that's the narrative, we are talking more about individual players. In this case, hashtag fight on. We're talking about Juju. We're talking about Kiki. We're talking about what happens at USC. We're talking about AZ Fudd just coming back into the fold. We're talking about AZ and Paige together. Oh, we're talking about Dallas won the lottery. Paige is going to Dallas. We're talking about all these different players. Olivia Miles coming back at Notre Dame. We talk about all of this stuff as we talk about players. And last year, the same thing with Caitlin, Angel, Cameron, Rakia, that Killer, that historic rookie class. We talked all about that. And all along, South Carolina was winning all their games, going undefeated on the way to the national championship. And again, like you said, we're doing it again. And like you said, there's probably no end in sight. But we're not talking about that, man. So they are literally playing with, for a team that hasn't lost a game in 2 years, we're talking about they're playing with house money, because we're getting to the point where nobody's even mentioning the fact that they're undefeated, and they don't play like they're carrying that pressure of being undefeated, man. And then the other thing, last thing, I know we talked about this offline. I want to say this, man. Hey, dog, Tessa Johnson just be hooping, man, right? Like, just hooping, right? They need a big shot. Bang, got it. You need a stop. Got it. Man, Tessa Johnson is just out there hooping. I really love her game. Love her game.
No doubt. I mean, I mentioned the opponents coming up. I don't see the South Carolina train slowing down any soon. I think anytime soon. I think Joyce Edwards. This is the key, because I mean, they talk about a lot during the games. Of course, when you lose a dominant 6'7" post player, now you're looking at it by committee. And these bigs that they have now in South Carolina, they all do a multitude of things. And I think that's going to be the theme for them is, like I said, by committee. But I think Joyce Edwards is, by the time March rolls around, I think she's going to be primed and ready. And
I agree.
Because she has all the tools. I think, Watkins, she's going to do what she does, whether it be more so on the defensive end. But I think they got a lot of tools in the toolbox.
Absolutely.
Anything broken can be fixed, and it's easy to fix when everything starts with defense and effort, most importantly. So, like I said, once again, hats off to Don Staley and crew, 43 straight and counting. Can't wait to check them out Sunday against UCLA. They're going to be, and I like that. Don don't, like I said, they don't duck any smoke. They taking on some of the best teams, the best players, and that's all in tune to get you ready for March. So
that's it.
We'll be locked into them now. Geno,
sure. And if your last name is Pow, that means you have to be able to shoot the ball. Hey. I don't make the rules, dog. I'm just saying.
Hey, right. Geno Auriemma is now the all-time leader in wins, men's or women, NCAA hoops, 1,217 victories. That came when they defeated Fairleigh Dickinson in blowout fashion. Man, I did some digging because I was 7 years old when Geno took over at UConn. And most people, if you just catching on the last 20 years or so, let's just say that, you'll be like, oh, man, You're supposed to win like that, man. Like you getting all the best players and everything like that. But when I went and did some digging, and I look back to his background, I mean, Geno, I mean, coaching is him. Like, I mean,
right?
70
Hey,
years old and probably been coaching 50 plus, like 50 plus years of them. I mean, it started
hey,
at Bishop McDavid High School, assistant varsity coach and head junior varsity coach in 77, 79. Was St. Joseph assistant from 78 to 79. Bishop Kenrick High School was assistant coach 79 to 81. Virginia assistant 81 to 85. And then took over UConn program that at the time, went back and looked at his record, it was not dominant in his first, 2 or 3 seasons. They went 12 and 15, 14 and 13, 17 and 11, no postseason. And then 88, 89, that's when it got the rolling. Went 24 and 6. Went on to had a pretty successful postseason and never looked back after that. But if you listen to what I said, like his resume, he bounced around from high school to college, back to high school, then college again, and then he took over his own program, which is, to me, is a unique story in itself. And then now all of a sudden you look up and 40 years later, you're holding a record that, man, is I don't know if Don is going to coach that long. She might, but it's going to take that type of longevity for you to ever come close to this record. I mean, to me, Don is the only one currently I can even think of that even may have a shot. I ain't because anybody else past Don, I probably won't be around to see it.
right.
I might, what they say, Lord willing, but
No, man, this is fame. Don't you know, man? You gonna live forever? What you talking about?
but no, it's pretty impressive, man. Like I said, I got to dig in, and I mean, throughout this course, other than the double-digit losses that I mentioned in his first 3 seasons, they've only had 2 other double-digit losses that in his career at UConn, and they still made the NCAA tournament, and that was in '91 and '92 and '92 '93. But I mean, everybody showed up to this game. From Diana Taurasi to Maya Moore to Sue Bird, Stephanie Dolson. I mean, everybody from every era was there to witness, history, and they were a part of that number. Nate Montgomery was in the building. I'm just glad I get to see stuff like this. Like I said, I started watching as a kid. This was the time, in the late '80s, early '90s. You're talking about Geno Auriemma, Pat Summitt, and R.I.P. Pat Summitt. I miss her to death, man, because she is another one who never ducked smoke. Like, we're not seeing a lot of, I'd say, high-level games early in the year by multiple teams. Like South Carolina is taking on all challengers. Outside of that, I looked at and I'm not trying to get off record, but this is just a testament to Geno and Pat and Don. Like, they live the coach in the big games. I looked at a lot of schedules. A lot of people are taking it easy this first 15 to 20 games, but these teams are not. And I mean, that's what made Geno who he is, and what made UConn who they are. Getting the best players, playing against the best players, and you look up in 1,217 victories, bro, and 162 losses. It's crazy. That's an 88% all-time winning percentage. Passing the ball to you, A. Willie. Your thoughts on Geno breaking a record, but just Geno in general, what he means to the game.
Man, I'm gonna tell you this. And shout out UConn. I'm gonna tell you, man, it's so crazy, to your point, how long he's coached, because I've done a 180 on UConn as a program, because back to what you were saying, when UConn and Tennessee used to play regularly during the regular season, when we would see them, and sometimes they play twice, right?
Exactly.
When they would play each other in the regular seasons, when we had, again, rest in power to one of the queens, Pat, Coach Summit. I was a Tennessee fan. I love Tennessee. So if you love Tennessee, I didn't like UConn, man. And me, as the young shorty as I was, to your point, the testament to how great Coach Auriemma has been over this extended amount of time. I've done that 180 because I did not like UConn, not at all, because I love Tennessee and all those legendary teams and players that Coach Summit coached. So this is going all the way back to Bridget Gordon, right? Like I love those teams. And so with that being said, I didn't like UConn at all, but that's a healthy level of respect. I didn't like UConn the same way as a Laker fan. I didn't like the Celtics. Same way. But as I've grown in my understanding and my nuance, God has removed some of that hate out of my heart, man. So, so shout out to this man to be able to do it over all of these years and be who he is authentically. Because as you know, same with Coach Staley, same with Coach Vanderbilt, same with Coach Summit. You can't do this and be as great as they are and do it without a level of accountability to players and to yourself. And he's been able to do that. And sure, he's probably had to alter some stuff to fit more with the modern player, but there's still accountability when you go in the stores to hoop, you're going to be held accountable. And you better know it that you're going to be held accountable. And in this era where people duck that type of smoke, to use your phrase, man, to be able to do that and remain who you are, man, I respect what he's been able to do. And I've said this before on multiple platforms. I know this stuff intimately from my background working in college basketball, sports marketing, and being a recruited athlete myself. I know the difference between what's inherently a good job and what's a place where somebody made this a good job. Because on the surface, if I said to you, I'm going to give you a job, right, OG? I'm going to give you a job. You can have Mrs. Basketball, meaning the top player in a 6-state radius. You will be able to get them. Say, yeah, let me take that job. Let me take that job every day of the week and twice on Sundays. Well, New England is a different animal. And I'm telling you that from going to school there and playing there. When I got to New England, I would hear where I'm from, right? Basketball and Mr. Basketball in California, you talking about potentially Hall of Fame caliber players, right? So I'm thinking, word, I'm getting ready to go play. Mr. Basketball is going to get ready to join our team. And then you get to New England. That's 6-state, and all of them are small in terms of population. And Mr. Basketball, Mrs. Basketball, the best player in the state, be a Division III player. That's turning something into a good job. That's different than being in a place, all right, I'm going to UCLA, USC, where I'm a high academic school, so I have a great endowment. Plus, I'm in a very fertile recruiting ground, and I got resources. Geno made that a good job, man. That's different than something being inherently a good job. And so you got to shout him out for doing that, and shout out to their administration as well of knowing, hey, man, we got a real one here. So let's make sure that we do everything we need to do so he doesn't get poached by one of these places that's inherently a better job than our job, man. So, and then I'll say this about Geno as well. Again, from my days working in Nike basketball, college basketball sports marketing, we would do this thing called a coaches trip every year where we take elite coaches from Nike basketball programs and we would go to a destination space, spend a couple of days with them where we're talking to them about Nike business and we're bonding with them, telling them about where we are presently, telling them what's on the horizon, all of those things. Man, and I had the privilege of seeing and building with great coaches and seeing them when they're out of that coaching element, when they're out of that media-driven element where they have to be a certain way and all those different things. To see Geno, to see Coach Auriemma, to see Coach Boeheim, to see Coach Roy Williams, these legendary coaches, that element and get to know them as people, you can see why players and families that are thinking about this the right way choose to go continue their socialization in basketball at their programs, man. So shout out to Geno Auriemma, and I think he's going to be adding to that Final Four mantle this year, sure, with this team, especially if they stay healthy.
No, I agree, and it's funny because what you say about the Pat Summit and Geno battles, and like you said, sometimes they would do home and away in the regular season. And then sometimes mess around and meet up in the NCAA tournament. So
like they played the same conference, right?
Yeah, that's the element that I'm talking about that's missing. Like UCLA, like I understand, like if you're in these bigger conferences, you're gonna have tend to have lesser non-conference games. But with the team that USC brought in, no reason why we shouldn't be getting more of the top 25 matchups, more as much as we can. Now, I know some of us, years ahead and different things. I know how that works, as far as scheduling and things of that nature. But try to get as many of them on the docket as possible to keep the anticipation and everything like that rolling. And also, I do appreciate the other games that they schedule as well, because we get a chance to see talent from other teams that's not in the top 25 that we typically would not see or would not know about or hear as much. So I appreciate all of it, but I like to see the gritty, tough matchups. Speaking of Pat Summitt, I miss it's two things about her. I miss the smile she used to have after winning, and I miss the scowl when her players was out there and wasn't playing to Tennessee level. So and I always like package them together because they have coached some of the best players to ever play the game. Whether that be in college or in the pros. I think of course Geno has more, but at the end of the day, Candace Parker and Maya Moore is probably the two best players that, to me, that I seen watch impact the game at the college level and the pro level. He's saying
man.
So
man. Let me just say this real quick, right? You say about Maya Moore and Candace Parker, right? I'll say this. To see Candace Parker listed on Tennessee's website, position was literally guard, forward, and center. Literally. So go ahead, brother. I just want to point that out, man.
No, it's funny. I mean, because that's how she was. I mean, like I said, and of course, there's been a ton of good players and great players, but I'm just saying, like they did it the same in college, did it the same in the pros, like. And even you can throw Diana Taurasi, the Breonna Stewarts, but me, who took me by storm at, Maya Moore and Candace Parker. And I love Taurasi, love Breonna Stewart. A crazy thing, because I remember hearing about Breonna Stewart before I actually seen her. And when I heard the name Breonna Stewart, I'm thinking it's a sister.
Hey, let's come on.
Like going by the name, like if I just heard the name before I seen her game, like before I actually seen who she was. And then when I seen who she was, I said, dang, long arms, could put it on the floor, could shoot, like everything. So I was like, yeah, UConn is about to be dominant again. So, I just wondered.
Shout out Shamika Holesclaw too. Shamika Holesclaw was an animal.
Yeah.
Good gracious, she was different, boy. But go ahead, man. Go ahead, brother.
But no, yeah, the list you can go on. We'd run out of tape talking about all the players that came through both of those programs. But just to clap it off, how much longer do you think Geno's going to coach?
It's a great question, man. I think you get a player of a Sarah Strong's caliber. I think you almost have to say there are no. I mean, of course, we're talking no health issues, and assuming I think he has to say, "I'm going to be here for at least your 3 years that you're here," because again, when you have a player of that caliber, I think if they sign up to come to UConn, and let's say this, man, as you talk about something, let's get something off my chest. Let me get this off my chest. all you people, when you're talking about these elite players, all of you people that say they should be choosing the school, go sit down somewhere. Choosing to play for that coach. And yes, the program is a part of that. But who does the school go recruit them? Does the president go recruit them? Does the atmosphere and the Northeast go and recruit Sarah Strong? Auriemma go to the house. They are going to play for that coach. So if you talk about they should choose the school and the coach leaves, they should stay, man, go sit down. All right. So I think if you get Sarah Strong, you commit to at least the next 3 years. So I think he'll be no health issues. I think he'll be there for the next 3 years. And then you're starting to say this a lot, man. My dad says this. Shout out to my dad. My dad says this a lot, man. My dad is retired. My dad worked at GM for like 40 years, right? My dad says, damn, man, I should have kept working because people, and shout out to my grandma as well, because my grandma worked as a healthcare provider, as a nurse in a bunch of different settings. And then she worked up until maybe a couple of weeks before she passed away. And rest in power to my grandma. I love you, Dolores. But she worked at a cleaners because after she stopped working, she wanted something to do. And that keeps them going. It keeps them young. Because when you see Geno, you wouldn't say, man, this dude is 70 years old, because they literally enjoy coaching. He does not seem like some curmudgeon that I can't change and the game has passed me by. And some of these coaches in various sports, basketball, football as well, that literally complain about how today's player is, and that's the reason why they walk away. I don't get that from Geno. Again, I get that mix of, I can the balance, right? It's not being too far on either side of the spectrum. I'm not so far on who I am and I'm not going to adjust, but I'm not also on the other side of the spectrum where I'm so far over here where let me try and be current. I'm going to listen to everything that Miles. I'm gonna go listen to all that stuff. Try to adapt to connect with these young players and forget who I am. I don't get that from Geno, man. So I think it's got to be at least we're gonna get this year, next year, and the year after that, because he's got Coach Sarah Strong, man. And I say that, not as some sort of obligation, but at the same time, when you are coaching those elite players, they can ask you, because they're the number one recruit in the country, and they can go anywhere. And they can ask you, how long do you plan on being here? Now, you can lie to them, but I never picked that up from Geno at all.
Well said, Willie, and way to get that off your chest. And this is my last words before we get out of here. When I think about coaching, it's one of the best titles you could ever have. Whether you're good, whether you're bad, or are thought of indifferent, it's a title and responsibility that is the most heralded in any part of the world that you go in. People will forget their fifth grade teacher, but they won't forget their fifth grade coach. It's just something that over a course of time, through the numerous amount of practices, games, wins, losses, those experiences last a lifetime. And anybody who's ever played sports, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You take somebody like Geno, who's coached 40 plus years at the highest levels, at the intermediate level. He's impacted a lot of people, men and women.
Right.
And that's something to be, truly appreciated for. I mean, no scandals, no anything. Nothing but just winning, coaching, and building a tremendous legacy. As A. Willie mentioned, at a school that was not a basketball school. And that leads me to my closing about coaching, is that the biggest thing is the challenge. It's the challenge of taking raw talent and building it into something. It's the challenge of taking a losing program and turning it into a winner. It's the challenge of taking a winning program and maintaining it as a winner. So you get into coaching to create change and accept challenges along the way. That's where coaches thrive. It's a mentality. It's something that I believe that's in the person. And, it's been very rewarding. I've coached at the middle school level, the elementary level, the high school level, the pro level and video, professional video gaming. Seen a lot around the professional setting during my time. So it's something to be truly congratulated for what all of these coaches all across the world, the country, who are taking time out to, help shape tomorrow's future. So hats off to all the coaches. And like I always say, if you don't remember anything about me, remember this. I'm here to laugh, show love, promote, talk sports, movies, joke, and troll. Catch us on the next episode.